Hello, everybody. So it is Saturday. Normally, I would be doing my Marvel Cinematic Saturday here, but honestly, I didn't have it in me to sit through Age of Ultron. A movie that's 2.5 hours and feels even longer. I just didn't have that in me. So instead, I watched a different movie. I watched To All the Boys, Always and Forever, the third movie in the To All the Boys trilogy, based on the best-selling novels, or I assume best-selling novels, by Jenny Han. And you know what? There's nothing to say they can't be part of the MCU, right? There's nothing in there that proves that they're not a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So screw it. Still fits. Um, anyway, short version is I like the movie. Uh, I read the books that these movies are based on a couple of years back. Uh, Before even the first movie had come out, I read the novels, and I really liked them. They're good, well written novels. They're teen romance, young adult romance novels, um, and but there's also a lot of just they're also sort of coming of age in a lot of ways. Um, Jenny Han herself is, I think, Korean American. Uh, so obviously, she wanted to write the kind of books that she wanted to read as a kid. Thus, she wrote novels with Korean American protagonist. Yeah, Korean American. Yeah. So yeah, she wrote romance trilogy with Korean American protagonist, and because own voices is definitely very important. So anyway, yeah. The movies follow the books as closely as they're able to, bearing in mind the different requirements of screen compared to print. Um, Books don't really have a run time the way movies do, so some stuff did obviously had to have to get cut. I will say the one thing that I missed most in the movies or the one thing I missed most from the books that was not in the movies was more content between Lara Jean's love interest Peter and her sister Kitty. Because like in the books there is you know there was a real bond between those two that the movies just didn't have time to really get into. So we'd see tiny bits of it, but not as much as I would have liked. That said, like all the actors did solid performances throughout the trilogy. There were no weak performances. Even just the supporting cast was always really strong. Um, and I mean, it's a good love story uh, throughout that builds throughout the trilogy. Yeah, each book gives them their their troubles, um, their their breakups and near breakups. So each book gives them troubles to get through, and the way the movie shows them, and like the way they get over it, it's sweet. It's a really good romance. Uh, for this third movie, it adds in the third movie takes place and the protagonist Lara Jean Song Covey takes place in her senior year of high school. So she's preparing for college and all that. She wants to go to college with her boyfriend. She doesn't get into the same university he does. She does get accepted to a university that's about an hour away. Um, but then she goes on a trip to New York, where she'd applied at NYU, and she falls in love with the city. And then when she gets back, she finds out that she got accepted into NYU. So there's her being torn between wanting to stay close to her boyfriend and wanting to do what she wants to do by going to NYU. And I will say this: uh, the scenes that take place in New York really, at least for me, as somebody who's never been to New York City, who's never been to the U.S., but especially never been to New York City, uh, it does a really good job sort of highlighting New York as an amazing city, because it does seem like it's an absolutely amazing city. Uh, the first half of the New York act is just all this touristy stuff, and hey, it looks fun. Yeah, it does look like a fun tourist city. The second half is more about life in New York, uh, for young people, as she sort of gets pulled into a pulled to a party, and uh, just has an amazing time. And speaking of which, I really like um, the band they chose there. Not, I've no idea who what band was playing during that scene, but they're pretty good. They're a good band, and anyway, it really does capture why it's easy to fall in love with New York City. Uh, Speaking of trips, the movie actually also opens in Seoul, North Korea, South Korea, as Lara Jean and her family sort of visit that part of their heritage. And again, it's all touristy stuff, but it seems pretty great. It yeah, it makes Seoul look really cool, really fun. Um, uh, what else do I want to talk about? That's probably not as good as the first movie. The first movie is probably still the best of the trilogy. Um, but yep, it's still a fun movie. It's still a good movie for it's still a good young adult romantic movie. Um, and I know that there's people watching this who are judging me for watching the movie. 37-year-old man watching a movie that's really aimed towards teen and even tween girls. But I reject that judgment because it's based on misogyny. There's definitely there's definitely an attitude that anything that whose primary audience is women is inferior. So romance novels, romance movies, even just young adult books, especially ones with female writers and protagonists. Um, there's a lot of disdain for them, and it just comes from this weird attitude that if women like it, it can't be real quality. That in order to be, you know, legitimate literature or cinema, it has to be popular with men, and that's bullshit. There's a lot of fantastic young adult stuff out there, and a lot of it doesn't really get the respect it deserves. Because I mean, it's not easy making good young adult content. For all that people think teens are, uh, for all the for all that people think teens are kind of dumb, they're not. Teens are sincere, is what I would say. Uh, they feel things strongly, um, and they can tell when something is insincere. They can tell when something is talking down to them, or is trying to just cash grab from them. And yeah, the To All the Boys novels and movies, they try their best to be sincere. They try their best to respect the audience. And the people who are making them, you get the impression that it's a movie that they want to make, and that goes a long way towards improving it. Even the movie, it got pretty middling reviews overall, but I figure that it's worth watching. The whole trilogy worth watching, and the books worth reading if you like reading. Because, like I said, they are trying to make, like, the books and the movies. They are what the creators wanted to have as kids when they were teens and tweens, and there's a power in that. There really is. Uh, anyway, yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. Oh, actually, I do have one more thing to say. The soundtrack, uh, hipster enough to appeal to me. there's there's enough hipster uh, There's enough indie music for me to be like, yeah, I like the soundtrack. That said, the movie opens with Spice Girls of all things, and then there's like this weird sort of downbeat cover of "Wannabe," which didn't. I'll need to give the full song a listen, but didn't really. I don't really get the point of that one. And the soundtrack also has Oasis on it for some reason. Don't look back in anger, um, which is a good song. Oasis, the Gallagher brothers were just total bastards, but I like I liked Oasis, for the most part. They did have some pretty good songs. But anyway, yeah, I like the soundtrack. I like the soundtrack to all three movies, really. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of indie stuff, indie cred, which makes sense given the movie is based in out of Portland, I think. Um, so, yeah, obviously, some definite indie music hipster stuff going on there. Uh, yeah, uh, apparently it was actually filmed in Vancouver, obviously, because if you want authentic, if you want a film to feel authentically American, film it in Canada. That said, I'm pretty sure both the Seoul and New York scenes were filmed in those two cities. Uh, I would guess. Anyways, uh, yeah, good movie. Uh, Worth watching if you're into that sort of thing. In the meantime, thanks for watching and have a nice day.